Good evening friends, Sat Sri Akal, Adab. This is once again in continuation to my videos of documentation. Here we will exclusively talk of the Cantonment Land Administration Rule 10. Now this is very important. We all need to understand what does Rule 10 say. It says maintenance of General Land Register. MU shall maintain the GLR, which is called the General Land Register, prepared under Rule 3 in respect of all land, other land in bazaar, the management of which is entrusted to or vests in the board, and shall register all mutations in column 1 thereof, and shall enter therein. Subpara 1. Every transfer of right or interest in land in the cantonment registered under Section 54, 59, 107 and 123 of the Transfers Properties Act 1882, of which information has been sent to him under subsection 2 of Section 287 of Cantonment Act 1924 or by the board when such transfer necessitates an alteration of the entries in any of the column of the register. So this is Rule 10. Now we need to understand, why am I speaking this Rule 10 today? Exclusively. Because most of the judgments which come, they say under the Grant Act, TPA Act is not applicable. Now what does Rule 10 speak? The TPA Act is applicable. Now let's read what does TPA Act 1882 Section 54 speaks. It says sale is defined. Sale is a transfer of ownership in exchange for a piece for a price paid or promised, or part paid and part promised. Very simple. That means there is something which is being transferred from one hand to the other hand. Even it speaks of as to the limitation of the territorial operation of para 2 and 3 of the Section 54. Let's see Section 1. This para extends to every cantonment. See Section 287 of the Cantonment Act 1924. Such transfer in the case of tangible, immovable property of a value or other, a value of 100 rupees and upwards, or in the case of a revision or other intangible thing, can be made only by a registered instrument. So within the Cantonment, TPA Act becomes applicable under Section 54. Now the same thing has been talked of if the value is below 100 rupees. The second part says delivery of tangible immovable property takes place when the seller places the buyer or such person as he directs in possession of the property. A contract for a sale of immovable property is a contract that a sale of such property shall take place on terms settled between the parties if it does not of itself create any interest in or charge on such property. This is Section 54 and this is applicable as per Rule 10. Now let's read the other section, that is 59. That is mortgage when to be by assurance. Now 99% of the banks do not mortgage our properties in cantonments. Why? Section 59 bids them to do it. Where the principal money secured is 100 rupees or upwards, a mortgage other than a mortgage by deposit of titles can be effected only by a registered instrument signed by the mortgager and attested by 2 witnesses. Where the principal money secured is less than 100 rupees, a mortgage may be effected by either keeping the instrument or signed and attested as aforesaid, or except by delivering the property if it is a special mortgage. So section 59 also is applicable on cantonments as per Rule 10. 59A was substituted reference to mortgagors and mortgagees to include persons deriving title from them unless otherwise expressively provide preference in this chapter. So what is the problem? What is happening? Judiciary says TPA Act is not applicable because section 3 of the Grant Act says. Here Rule 10 says that TPA Act is applicable. Mortgage of properties is there. I have n number of properties prior to 1937 who have been mortgaged and auctioned by banks. Imperial Bank, Central Bank, these banks and Bank of America has auctioned properties. So where are we moving on? Now let's read what Rule 10 said. There was another section called 107. Now this says leases how made. A lease of immovable property from year to year or for any term exceeding 1 year or reserving a yearly rent can be made only by a registered instrument. So we can even lease our property. This document needs to be registered. Now here it's very important. It even went on to say all other leases of immovable property be made either by a registered instrument or by oral agreement accompanied by delivery of possession. 1. Where a lease of immovable property is made by a registered instrument, such instrument or where there are more instruments than one, each instrument shall be executed between both the lessor and the lessee, provided that the state government may, with the previous sanctions of the Governor General and Council, omitted by an order of 1937, from time to time by notification in official gazette, direct that leases of immovable properties other than leases from year to year or a term exceeding 1 year or reserving a yearly rent or any class of such lease may be made by unregistered instruments or an oral agreement by delivering possession. Leases can be made, mortgage has to be done. Section 54 says sale can be done. And let's come to the last, that is 123. Transfer how effected. This is chapter 7 which talks of gifts under the TPA Act 1882. For the purpose of making a gift of immovable property, the transfer must be effected by a registered instrument signed by or on behalf of the donor and attested by at least 2 witnesses. For the purpose of making a gift of movable property, the transfer may be effected either by registered instrument signed as aforesaid or delivery. Such delivery may be made in the same way as goods sold may be delivered. So gift is also allowed, everything is allowed, but somewhere, we people in the cantonments are so ignorant to our laws. We don't read these rules. We've not ever tried to educate ourselves, and that is why we lose. The unfortunate part is this. We need to wake up, educate yourself, understand Rule 10, see what Rule 3 says, how GLR is made, and what does the TPA Act says in this. Ask your advocates, ask your people whom you trust, and then interpret yourself. Thank you. Good day.